Hey, welcome back to the Mushroom. You may be listening to this in the new year, if this comes out in the new year. And if you're listening to it after it came out, then you're definitely listening to this in the new year. In which case, Happy New Year, Happy 2021. Hopefully it'll be better than 2020. I'm sure you're hearing that everywhere. It's been a while since I put out a new episode, and this is the first episode I'm recording since November, I think. So I took like most of December off from recording a podcast because I wanted to have my therapy appointment before I addressed like what happened, and I wanted to like approach it in the right way. And then of course like the holidays and stuff happened, so I just didn't feel like recording, and I wanted to like finish all the marking that I had to do for the courses I'm TAing and spend time with my family and stuff. I put off recording this episode for those reasons, and then also, even when I did like have time to record it, I just wasn't in the right headspace until today, and I was waiting for that sort of feeling of like, okay, I feel like I need to do it today. Not that I need to, but like I feel up for it. And I haven't been feeling up for it for like over a month. So this is me finally being up for it. And I come at this whole podcast as a hobby. So I don't ever want to force myself to record stuff when I don't feel like it's going to come across in the way that I want it to. But today I felt like today is just like a good day to record it. I feel like I'm finally in the right headspace to do it. But I was anxious about recording this episode. I am an anxious person. That's just like an understatement, really. I'm a very anxious person. I like think constantly, and I think being in therapy, I get to like actually dive in and figure out like exactly how bad it is. Like, not to say that therapy made me anxious, but it's just a way for me to actually look at myself and my patterns, and then see how a lot of what holds me back in life is my brain and my anxiety. And it helps me, like talking to a therapist helps me discover not only like the sources of this anxiety, but also like what to do to overcome the anxiety, to live life as like a more whole person and healthy and happy. So I did feel very anxious prior to pressing record on this episode. So my therapist told me to meditate, and I told her like I tried meditation before, and it's hard to like stick to it because they say like you should do it every day, do a quick like few minute session each day to get into the habit of it, and it'll put you in a better headspace and you'll learn to do it better, blah blah blah. And I just can't stick to things like that, and then I get down on myself. Like, if I don't do it every day, then I'm like, oh, I broke my streak, might as well not do it at all. If I can't do it every day, then I shouldn't do it at all. That's sort of like where my mind goes. So instead, she said that it doesn't have to be an everyday thing. It doesn't even have to be a weekly thing or anything. Just use it meditation. Use meditation as an emergency thing. Like, always know that you have that to fall back on. And that actually really helps. I think that's a mindset that works for me, and maybe that can work for you. If you've like been the kind of person who tries to get into meditation but you can't, or yoga or stuff like that. I'm not someone who does well with routine and sticking to things. So I think what you should do is download a meditation app, because this is what I do. Download a meditation app. There's one that's really good that's free. It's called Insight Timer. And they have a lot of free meditation sessions that are a few minutes to half an hour, and some are longer. And they're guided. You can choose one for like anything. So today I did one for, let me see what it was called. SOS, Help for Stress and Anxiety. And it was a quick 12-minute guided meditation, and the narrator, I guess that's what they are, walked me through like a breathing exercise, and that helped to calm down my body, because it was more of like the anxiety I had today. It was like a physiological response than anything like mental. I felt really like my heart rate was elevated, and I felt like I was like like one step away from bursting into tears before recording this episode. Like, and there's really nothing to be stressed out about, but there's like, my brain just like goes into overdrive sometimes, and it's not logical, but it's just my body reacting to something that I don't even realize I'm stressed about. So, like, a breathing exercise, especially if it's a guided meditation, it helped and helps me in many other situations where I feel like this. Helps to like ground me, and it sends signals to my sympathetic nervous system to level out my heart rate and relax me. Because that's like, anxiety comes in different ways, right? At different moments for different people. Yeah, so that's where I'm at today. I'm post meditation, and here I am. So why was I so stressed out today? I got my TA evaluations from one of the courses that I TA'd this year, or this semester, and like 99% of them were good. They were great. Like, people got to leave optional comments at the end, and a lot of them were very sweet, and I wanted to cry, because like, it, like, I don't know, just like having an impact on people, not only their learning but also like their days. Like, some of them said that the class was like the highlight of their week, because they got to like talk about stuff to me, and I created like a, not to brag, but just like creating a comfortable environment for people, especially in these times where you don't get to physically be with people. I really wanted to create comfortable environments for my students, because I know like people are going through tough times, and it's good to sometimes just like talk about your weekend, you know? But then, like, I got one I got one evaluation from one student, and it was like really negative, and it seemed like they didn't like me or my approach to teaching. And this is just a perfect example of like you can have 99 positive reviews and 99 good impressions on people, but then that one person who has a bad impression of you can really ruin your day. And it made me mad and hurt, and I read it to my family, and I immediately like went into defense mode, and all of like the points that the student brought up, I was trying, like, I defended to my family, like I and I'm not going to like go into it now because that's not what I want to do, and that's the whole point, was like of this episode that I want it to be, is like I want to stop trying to defend myself against this one negative impression that I have of that I made on somebody. And I mean, this happens a lot of times in life, and I think this is like a perfect analogy to what happened last month, and why I put off making this episode for a long time, and what initially sparked this episode. But I think it's finally time to like talk about it and get it off my chest, because it's been brewing, and I've been trying, like, my mind has been trying to wrap itself around this topic for the past month and a half whenever it happened. And I've been trying to like come up with the perfect way to talk about it. But until today, and until I read that review, I realized that this is what I want to talk about and how I want to frame what happened. So, get to the point, Agatha, what happened? So, what happened was my ex-boyfriend, the one that I based my first and my third podcast episode on, my, like, that breakup. His new girlfriend found my podcast and reached out to me on Instagram and DM'd me. And her reaction was not good, not positive. It was a negative review. And she got angry at me for how I portrayed him, and that I have no right to call him what I called him, and that I shouldn't be making it public. And I forget what else she said, but it was just like, I don't know, just very like angry and negative. And I responded to her pretty coldly, but not rudely. I was trying to be impartial. Not impartial, but like, I was trying to be matter of fact. Because I said what I said, and I thought about what I would say before I said it, and then I recorded what I said, and then I edited what I said, and I sent it to my friends to listen before I made it public. I made my family listen to it, and I made sure that I portrayed everything truthfully to my knowledge and not slander. I didn't say anything that would lead to potentially like identify him. So I in no way ruined his reputation or anything, really. I put out the episodes I put out intentionally, and I didn't do anything haphazardly or carelessly, what's the word? Without, I don't know, like everything, you may call it like calculated, but I made sure, I made like 120% sure that I wanted to put out what I did. And I didn't feel guilty until she made me feel guilty. And that's just like the type of person I am. I think I'm very prone to feeling guilty. If someone tries to make me feel guilty. And that's why I wanted to go to therapy, because I wanted to get my emotions in order. I'm really not somebody who does things like this impulsively. I know it may seem like what I did was impulsive and heat of the moment, like I put out a podcast episode exposing my ex, but that's not how it was at all. I recorded that in July and I didn't put it out until September. I really sat on it and I made sure that I wanted to put that out. And once I finally did put it out, I was happy with it. And I got loads of positive messages from friends, family, even like a couple strangers. And the podcast is doing like pretty well, actually. And I think people are enjoying it. And they're resonating with it, even though like most people don't even know who this guy is. So the fact that she was upset about what I said, I don't know, I expected it. I thought like they might find it eventually. Of course, like it would be stupid of me to assume they would never find it. But until it happened and I got her reaction to it, and she said that I made his mom cry because his mom listened to it, like that shit, I don't know, like of course it's gonna make me feel bad, but I knew, like my brain, my rational side of my head knew that I shouldn't feel guilty, because I did everything I could do to tell my story while simultaneously keeping his side of the story, his side, you know? I never, well, like, again, like, here I am defending myself, but you get it, like, I did my best, and I sat with it happy for months until finally she found it and made me second guess. But then I waited until I had my therapy appointment to talk to my therapist about it and get her view and how I should handle it. Essentially, her advice was to put off recording this episode about this topic until I didn't feel guilty anymore for how she feels and how my ex and his family feels about it. Because guilt is, like, it's okay to feel it because I feel it, and it's okay to feel your emotions, but you shouldn't. Like, I shouldn't feel guilty for what I did and what I said. So she said, wait until you stop feeling guilty to record your episode. Well, because, like, if I feel guilty, I'm going to keep trying to defend myself against her and to her. But she isn't the listener of my podcast. She isn't the person that, like, whenever you put out, like a podcast, for example, when I'm talking, I'm imagining one person that I'm speaking to. And, like, it may be you, right? This imaginary person. And she isn't that person. I'm not speaking to her. My audience member imaginary person that I'm speaking to is not her. It is, I guess, myself in like a different body. Like I'm I'm talking to myself, but not like past me, but kind of current me. Maybe like me from yesterday. Just anyone who's like going through what I'm going through. But this situation is kind of oddly specific because not everyone has a podcast that they put out about their ex-boyfriend cheating on them and breaking up with them. So it's not that relatable, but what my therapist also advised was to make the episode not about that situation specifically, but about people's perception of you. And that was mostly what bothered me about that interaction. Because, so, like, she ended off the conversation right before blocking me so I couldn't respond. She called me manipulative and ignorant. And I never said anything bad about her. I never called her anything bad. I never insulted her. And to hear insults from someone who never met me, doesn't know anything about me besides what my cheating ex-boyfriend has told her about me. To hear that I'm manipulative and I'm ignorant when all I can think about is how bad he hurt me and he manipulated me. And for her to say that I made his mom cry by calling him a narcissist when she has no clue, like, the hell that my family has gone through with this whole breakup. Like, my whole family has gone through hell because of what he did to me. And if I'm supposed to be the bigger person and take the high road every single time, that's impossible. Like, what am I, Mother Teresa? I'm not a saint. I try to be a good person as much as I can be, but to really, I don't know, like, to put such high expectations on me to not hurt anybody, especially if they hurt me. I don't know, like you really have to be some kind of saint to not lash out. And I don't even feel like I lashed out. I really feel like I just told my story and my truth to the best of my abilities, because I just felt so like alone and trapped in what I was going through. And I thought I could help people who might be going through the same thing, or might have gone through the same thing, or might one day go through the same thing. I didn't do it. I didn't do it to get back at him. I didn't ruin his career. I didn't ruin his friendships. I didn't ruin anything. But he ruined a lot. A lot. My therapist said that, her name's Michelle, by the way. I feel like I should start calling her by her first name. I asked her if I'm allowed to, and she said yeah. So, so Michelle, my therapist, said that I don't, like, obviously, what she's saying might not even be true, his mom might not have heard it. She might not have cried about it. She might have just been trying to make me feel bad about it and make me feel guilty as much as she could. But it might be true. And I don't know that. And of course, her perception and view of what I said is going to be colored by her own experiences and her own position in the story. And that's what complicates things, right? It's the same thing that complicates my students' view of me as a TA, right? Depending on how well they're doing in the course. If they're failing and I was the person who marked their assignments and their midterms, then they're going to be upset about it. And they might take it out on me, depending on what kind of person they are, what they've been through in life, what they've learned and not learned. And that's what influences everyone and their perception of anybody else. You're never just judged blindly by anybody. You're always judged by people who have previous experiences with people similar to you, or in any sense, And that's something to always keep in mind, so that you don't take things too personally. Of course, when she called me manipulative and ignorant, I looked at myself and I thought, am I manipulative? I don't think I'm ignorant, because I do my research before I say anything. So I know I'm not ignorant, but am I manipulative? And I asked my therapist that, and she said that it's good that I am able to be self-aware and try to look at myself from that perspective, because it's good. I think it's a good balance to when you receive criticism, to look at yourself and see maybe whether it's valid, because maybe there is part of yourself that you should look into changing if you want to change it. But whether I'm looking at the thought of maybe I'm manipulative, she said, okay, well, what does manipulative mean? And I said, well, I'm way ahead of you, Michelle. I Googled it because I do my research. And it's influencing other people's actions and thoughts. And that's kind of a broad thing to say, right? That's what our whole society is based on. There's literally influencers, social media influencers, whose job is to influence people's minds and actions. There's businesses who influence people's actions and minds. They're manipulative, they are. And whether that's a good or bad thing depends on how much you do it. Everyone is, I think, a little bit manipulative. And it's also good to keep in mind that there's many sides to a story. There's many ways you can spin a story. That whole saying about there's two sides to every story, I think there's many. Because you're not just looking at the truth. You're not just looking at what's true and what's false, what actually happened, what didn't happen. You're looking at the spin of it. How are you interpreting it? How are you interpreting what happened? There's many ways to interpret the truth, even. And that is all painted by your past experiences as a viewer of the situation. Everyone's going to look at a situation differently. And even you, as one single person, can look at one situation in many different ways. because we're all many facets. We're all made up of many facets, right? So, yes, let's look back. So, like, I went through this with my therapist as well, with Michelle as well. She asked me, like, what was your intent in putting out the first podcast episode? And I thought, well, maybe, I guess, yeah, part of me wanted him to eventually hear it and feel bad for what he did to me. And maybe part of me, yes, maybe I did hope that his new girlfriend would find it and listen to it and be warned about what kind of person he is. But most of my intentions were to get a sense of release and catharsis from telling my story and putting it out there, and it also like helps me take control of the situation, because of course people are going to hear that we broke up, right? People in our inner circle are going to hear like, oh, they're not together anymore, I wonder what happened. So it gave me sort of authority against any rumors that might happen, and I'll be able to tell my story myself, right? And that's also why a lot of like celebrity couples, when they break up, they put out a statement in order to take control of their own narrative, right? Because tabloids are going to start saying whatever they're going to say, but they want to tell their side to fight against that. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. Not to say like I'm a celebrity in any sense of the word, but like I have friends, I have mutual friends, people that I don't want to keep repeating the story to when they ask what happened, because I'm a very open person and I want them to hear what happened, but just reliving it every time I tell it is too much, and I just want to like send them a link, refer them to my podcast so that they could have a quick like I think the first episode's like 45 minutes. A quick 45-minute synopsis of what happened, so I don't have to go through it and live through it myself again and again and again and again each time I tell it. And of course, like the main purpose was I wanted to start a podcast that relates to people, because I want to help people through tough situations, because that is the toughest situation that I have been in thus far in my life. And I felt so alone and so like in this deep, dark hole that I needed people to relate to. And I thought, like, if there's people out there who are feeling like this, like I am, then I would benefit from this too. And that's why I did it. And that's why this podcast has like 9 or 10 episodes now, because I started with the breakup. That was the inciting incident. That was what started everything. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. And we've gone past it. Like, I've made episodes about other things and other people have enjoyed it. And that's just the truth. It's not about him anymore. It's not about her. It hasn't been about them for months now. And it's still not about them, okay? This episode is about people's perceptions. So, I can sit here and defend myself against every point that someone says that about me, about their impression of me, of who I am, that doesn't fit who I think I am. But it doesn't matter in the long run. You've probably heard that like a million times in your life. You're never going to please everybody. But it's true, and it doesn't really sink in, you know. You can keep getting negative opinions from people. And you might think, I don't agree with this. I can sit here and defend myself for days about why you're wrong about how you see me. But you really just need to look at yourself. Take a look at yourself and think, are they correct? Do they have a point with what they're saying? Like, let them, let their words hold weight for a little bit. Evaluate if they're true or not. If you think, like, okay, maybe they have a point. Maybe I need to, like, change a little bit of, maybe I need to work on myself a little bit in that aspect, right? Maybe I shouldn't come to class in my pajamas, which I think I did one time, and that student wrote that in their paragraph about why they don't like me. Maybe that's true. Maybe I should be more professional. But then again, like, look at the other side of the coin. What does that say about me? And if I met somebody who had the same characteristic that this person doesn't like, if I met somebody who had that same characteristic that this person doesn't like about me, would I like that about that stranger? And going back to the pajama example, I feel like it would be fun. I don't know, like, I, as a student, would probably be in my pajamas watching the tutorial, so it would be fun if my TA was also in her pajamas, right? And some people would think, okay, that's unprofessional. Like, wear some kind of suit or whatever. But that's just other people's opinions, right? Different people have different opinions on the same issue, depending on their own experience through this world. Everyone's just walking, living the same way we are. So, just like this podcast, I had a lot of messages from friends, strangers who found it, and think that it's a great idea, and that, you know, they really appreciate, like, having someone to relate to, and topics that I think aren't talked about as often as they should be, to make people feel better about going through these issues. And some people might think that I'm being, like, too deep, you know. I feel like I might have also thought that in the past. I might see, like, let's say someone from high school who maybe I don't have a good opinion about already from previous experiences with them. Let's say they were making a podcast just like this before, like, I made one. I might also think, like, oh my god, what are they doing? They're so pretentious that they think people want to listen to them talk for hours. Or, oh my god, they're so manipulative, like, exposing their ex-boyfriend. They just want to get people on their side. They want to be sympathized, play the victim. Like, I see that too. And maybe I would say it about someone that I didn't like already, or someone that I don't know already. And that's fair. I mean, it would be fair for me to have that opinion, and therefore it's fair for other people to have that opinion. But when you hear it about yourself, it hurts. It sucks. It really sucks. Like, because you have one view of who you are, and then someone comes in and tells you, I don't see you that way, I see you a different way. And you're like, oh my god, what? I thought I was sitting here living my life to the best of my abilities, like, the best that I can live it, and then here you are telling me I'm something else. It doesn't resonate, you know. It just feels off, it feels wrong. Like, I need to correct you. But that is fruitless. It's pointless. Like, people are coloring their perception of you based on their experiences in their life. And you may say, like, they don't know me fully. If only they got to know me, like, they'll like me. If only they knew this about me, they would feel better. But you may never convince them. You may never convince them to be on your side. Like, that student, I'm probably never going to see them again. Depending on, like, maybe they're failing the course and they'll have to TA them again next year. But most students were happy with the course, and I was happy with how I delivered it in the end. I was happy with the work I put into it and the enthusiasm I came into each tutorial with. I was happy with the responses I got for the most part. And I was happy with how my students did in the end. Like, my class did really well. And I was happy with the podcast performance. I was happy with the responses I got from people who listened to it. I was happy with, I was happy with my work on it and what I did. And I was proud of myself. And I should still be proud of myself. And I should still uphold the opinion of myself that I have, because I'm not going to impress everybody. I mean, look, I have celebrities that I don't like either, right? And that's like, I'm saying celebrity because it's the best example of, like, somebody that you don't know but you most likely have an opinion on, right? I have celebrities that I have negative opinions about. I don't know them. And probably, if I knew them and I was friends with them, I would like them. And I would defend them against people who were critics. But as it stands, I don't know them. And the only opinions I have are the ones that they are based off of the way that they portray themselves online, in the spotlight. And I get to generate an opinion of them from a very limited amount of knowledge. But my brain fills in those gaps of knowledge about them with knowledge about people from my past that I find similar to them. And that's just what your brain does, It fills in gaps of knowledge because it doesn't like an incomplete story. And sometimes you can't control that. You can't control that unless you fill in those gaps yourself. But some people might not be willing to hear you out. And it also takes a lot to get to know somebody. Like, my best friends know me pretty well. They've known me for years. They've seen me in my best states. They've seen me in my worst states. They've seen me during arguments. They've seen me during celebrations. They've seen me, like, they have a lot of knowledge about me to fill in those gaps. So I trust their opinions about me the most. And my family as well. My family's known me my whole life. They know almost everything there is to know about me. I'm very open with them, and I trust their opinions about me. But even sometimes they say stuff about me that I disagree with because they're not in my head. They don't see exactly how my mind works, how my thought process is. And am I gonna, like, spend forever trying to fill in those gaps of knowledge that they have about me? No. I'm gonna just live my life the way that I see fit and the way that I can be proud of myself for, right? Like each day I want to wake up and I want to be proud of my actions, my accomplishments, what I did, how I see the world. There has been times when I was a very there have been times when I was a very negative person. I think like it was like teenage stuff, right? Angsty teen. I looked at the world very negatively. I had negative opinions about a lot of celebrities, about a lot of issues, and looking back, I maybe regret some things that I said out loud, but I don't know, like, that was all colored by my experiences of the world at the time, you know? And I didn't have much at the time. But now I have more, and I'm a new, and I'm a, like, more experienced person. I have more under my belt. And I think who I am now is a better depiction of who I truly am. And I think as I get older and as I have more experiences, of course, like, I'll be more and more true to myself. Because right now, like, I guess, like, back when I was a teenager, I didn't even fully know who I was. And now I have a better idea of who I am than than I did then. But I'm sure when I'm like 30, I'll have an even better idea of who I am. Because, I don't know, like, I spent this whole episode talking about how people don't know everything about us. And I think even we ourselves don't know everything about ourselves. And we try to compare ourselves to people we know who are similar so we can fill in the gaps. But as long as we keep in mind that there's different facets to our personalities and ourselves, we can, like, stop ourselves from sticking to one mold of a person, of who we think we are, and we can expand our own personalities and let ourselves be more free to be who we're supposed to be. And at the same time, we can also mold ourselves to be who we want to be. Like, I remember there was a time when I looked back at, it was when I was a teenager, I looked at my view of the world and I was like, why am I so negative? I don't want to be this person. And I look at myself now too, like, and I want to have an episode about body image as well, but this is just an example. But I will expand on this in a future episode. I look at my own body and I'm very critical of it, and I can't help it, but I see, like, I'm aware of how negative I am about it, and I see it, and I don't like it. I don't like how I view my body, and I want to change it. And I think you can change yourself in, like, small increments like that. You can see, like, parts of yourself that you don't like, and then work to shift things. But that's only if you decide, and maybe it might come after criticism from strangers or friends or other people, but it might come after self-evaluations too. Like, as long as you look at yourself and you think, I like this about me, this person might not like it about me, but that's okay. But if you look at yourself and you think, I don't like this part about me, or this person may have a point, I don't like that part about me either, then you can work on yourself to change it. So it does really boil down to a healthy balance between accepting criticism and looking at it as valid, but also not listening to criticism if it's invalid, or if you think it's more of an opinion than criticism. Like if it's just a negative spin on something that you see as positive. Because, like, you're never gonna please everybody. Someone will think that you're fun and enthusiastic and exciting, but someone else would think you're loud and annoying, right? And if you're perfectly in the middle, you're boring, right? There's no winning. There's absolutely no winning. So as long as you are happy with who you are, and you look in the mirror or you lie down in your bed at night and you think, okay, I'm happy with how I acted. I'm happy with how I handled that situation, or I'm happy with what I did today. And like truly look down and be honest with yourself and think about it like without saying like, oh, other people said this, so I must be this. I don't know. It's like, it's so hard to like think for yourself, you know? But I guess it's like something that comes with being an adult or older and more experienced. Because as a kid, everything you learn about the world is from what other people tell you, because you don't have any experiences to rely on at that young of an age, right? How long have you been on this earth? Just a few years. But as you get older, you have more experiences with people, with situations, with the world, and you get to write your own biography of who you are. And currently, like, I don't know if I have a solid idea of who I am, but I'm working on it. I'm working on being, like, self-aware. I feel like I'm very self-aware already, and that's kind of my downfall. But there's also just a lot of aspects of myself and opinions from other people that I haven't, like, considered. Like, maybe I'm manipulative. I don't know. I've never sat down and thought about it before I heard that from somebody. And now I got to sit down and actually think, am I manipulative? And now I got to like fill in that portion of my bio, of like my self-description. Am I manipulative? No, but sometimes. And now I know the answer. Whereas before, I would never have even thought to think about it. So, that's kind of, I guess, where I've landed on this whole topic. And it took a long time to, like, land on a specific opinion on this whole situation, because it's been bothering me a lot. And I mean, I want to also give a shout out to my ex's first ex-girlfriend, or I guess second one, whatever, the one before me. We've actually become pretty good friends after this whole ordeal, and she's like the only person in this world who knows exactly what I went through, because we dated the same guy. We were both cheated on by the same guy, and we were both the other woman with the same guy. So no one knows my situation better than her, and it was great. It's been great talking to her through this whole thing and getting her perspective and how she's been coping with it. It's like helped me, and it's just really great. Like I'm really, like, even though this whole thing sucked, I'm really happy that I went through it, because I'm glad I'm not dating him anymore. I'm glad I get to like look forward to dating other people who suit me better than he did. And I'm really glad that like I made a new really good friend, and that I started this podcast, because this podcast wouldn't exist without what I went through. And I got to like get to know who I am better, because this whole time, like, I see the further I am away from it, what happened, because it's been like half a year now. The further I am from it, the more I recognize how much of my self-perception came from what he told me about how he perceives me. Which, I mean, is mostly negative. He wasn't a very, like, supportive boyfriend, but that's besides the point. So I've had to, like, rebuild my self-perception, my self-esteem, and that's been a journey. But really it is just being patient, you know? Nothing can heal you better than time and therapy. Therapy was huge, but time is also huge. And they kind of go together, you know, because what I went through it's trauma, you know? And trauma is different for different people, but that was a big thing. Anyway, I also want to say that I don't think my ex is a bad person, because I don't think anyone is a bad person. I think there's just people who, I think everyone is good deep down, even if, you know, even if they are a narcissist or a psychopath or a sociopath. I think everyone is good deep down, and they're just trying to get through the world. And like those aspects are mental illness. Like, let's not gloss over that. They are things that make it harder to live life the way that you want to, and maybe clouds perceptions of right and wrong, or clouds like our own judgment. But I don't think anyone is out there to hurt people. And if they are, then I think they're really just hurt deep down inside in a different way. And their self-perception is that they want to hurt people. But I don't think that's true. And maybe, I mean, I believe that everybody just needs to work on themselves to become people that they want to be, and good people. And a lot of that can come through therapy. Okay, I'm a hoe for therapy, and you're gonna hear me say this in almost every episode. But if you have the opportunity or you're on the fence, please go to therapy. It will change your life for the better. But I mean, all in all, I believe I will find someone. Maybe not even just one person, but maybe multiple people who suit me better than he suited me. And he will find people who suit him better than I suited him, because there was a lot that I didn't like about him, and a lot that didn't fit who I wanted my partner to be, or who I saw myself being with. And there was a lot in me that he didn't like, a lot in me that he didn't see himself being with, you know. And everyone, I mean, that's another thing. That's a big thing in breakups, right? It's hard to come to terms with the fact that someone doesn't want you. But again, like if you turn it back around on yourself, there's a lot of people that you don't want. And it's not because they're bad people or they're unlovable, but it's because they just don't fit your perception of who you want your partner to be. And dating is a trial period. You are dating somebody to, honestly, even marriage. A lot of marriages end in divorce because you get to know somebody. And also people change, but you get to know somebody and then you get to a point where you got to know them or they changed to, you know, to the point where they're a person that you don't want to be with anymore. And that's hard to like come to terms with a lot of times. I don't think you should cheat on people when you realize that. I think you should, the mature and emotionally intelligent thing to do is to break up with them and like really do some self-analysis to figure out like where you stand instead of being in this weird limbo where you're trying out other people while also being committed to them. Like that's, I think that's an immature stance to have. But that also comes with life experience. I think you need to work on yourself to not hurt people in that way. And I hope he works on himself. But that's just like this one example. But I hope everybody works on themselves as I'm trying to. And, you know, to become the person that you want to be. I don't think that comes from, you can do your best, but again, like you can do your best to work on yourself and you won't maybe get where you want to be without some negative experiences to get you there. So it's not all self-work, but it is mostly. And then it's also life experiences and then working through those. But all in all, thanks for listening. And happy 2021. I also thought that it'd be cool to end the podcast with a couple, or end each episode with like a couple new things, right? So 2021, new year, let's add some cool aspects to the podcast, okay? So what I got for Christmas from my sister is a tarot card deck. And it's Women of Science themed. So it is kind of an oxymoron where on one hand you have science and on the other hand you have tarot and witchcraft, spirituality, whatever, however you want to put it. But I think you can have both. Obviously, there's like religious people who are scientists who are religious. So why can I not believe in astrology and tarot and this kind of stuff, witchy stuff, while also being a scientist? I think it's fun. Okay, so I want to shuffle the deck and pull a card for each episode so that whenever you're listening to this, whenever it is in the future, you don't have to listen to it on the day it comes out. And I hope I'm going to infuse, as I'm shuffling, I'm going to infuse my intentions into the deck so that I pull a card that resonates with you for whatever day you're listening to this in the future, okay? And I don't know all the cards very well yet, but I have a little booklet that helps explain them. Okay, so there we go. I shuffled. I put my intentions into the deck, and here we go. I'll pull a card. And it is, well, because this deck is Women of Science themed, I pulled out Lise Meitner, who was a nuclear physicist. And her card is the Five of Cups. Okay, so traditionally this card is depicted as the figure on the card having lost 3 of his 5 cups, but 2 of them still stand, yet he fails to appreciate what he has left. So, oh my god, okay, so I feel like this card really represents the theme of this episode, where you literally have 99, like I said, 99 positive opinions about yourself, but you have one negative one that is clouding your judgment. So this card often carries the meaning of emotional dejection, disappointment, and sorrow over past events. There may be a tendency to cry over spilt milk. It can also represent the failure to see the good in a given situation. This is perfect. I'm going to do this every episode. So today, and the theme of this episode is the Five of Cups, or Lise Meitner, nuclear physicist. What did she do? She discovered the process of nuclear fission, one of the most transformative scientific findings of the 20th century. Her work allowed for the development of the atomic bomb, which she strongly opposed, and nuclear energy. But she was unable to co-publish research with her collaborator, and so her role in the discovery was long overlooked. But she did have an element named after her, element 109, meitnerium. So, there you go. Theme of this episode is the Five of Cups. Whether you believe in it or not, that is your card for today. Try to see the good in every situation, please, and focus on those good opinions. Don't reject the bad, but take it with a grain of salt. Still take it, but take it with a grain of salt. Okay? And then another thing I want to do is, I want to recommend a song or album that I've been listening to recently to sort of like, I don't know, if you just want to like get into my headspace or whatever, to get into the theme of this episode, I'll just like name a song or an album that I'm listening to and that I relate to, because that's the kind of music I listen to. I listen to music that relates to how I feel. So if you want to, sorry, I'm putting the cards back. If you want to listen to a song that I think relates to how I'm feeling right now, maybe you can relate to it as well, and it'll help you out. So the past month, my music might not be very broad, but I listen to a lot of Taylor Swift, and Taylor Swift has songs that are relatable on many different levels. And what I've been listening to this past month since my last episode has been her new album Evermore, and I've also been listening to her new album Folklore since my breakup. And my top song of 2020 has been Illicit Affairs off of her album Folklore, which is about like being the other woman in a cheating relationship, or in a relationship where your partner has advantage over you, whether it's like professional or emotional, whatever. So I really related to that song for most of the year. And then also off of Evermore, well, more recently, because this album came out in December. More recently, Tolerate It off of Evermore. And that song is about a relationship where you feel like your partner just tolerates you when they should celebrate you. And that's how I felt for most of my relationship. And these songs are sad, but it also gives me hope that I will find a love eventually where I can be celebrated, you know? It kind of gives me hope for the positive in the future, because if you can recognize where you went wrong in your past, then you can fix it and work on it for the future. So that's where I want to leave you off. Please rate, review the podcast on Apple Podcasts and wherever. Subscribe to the podcast, and I'll leave like links in the description for if you want to submit a question or a topic or whatever. And also, I have merch at SQ Stitches, which is my friend Sarah's crochet shop. So that's really fun, and it's still going on. You can buy yourself a little mushroom plush, a mush plush. I think that's it. I may have forgotten something, but thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking around. Whether you like it or not, thank you for listening, because I had fun with this episode, and yeah, good luck with everything. And I'll see you next time in the mushroom.